Hello Petersham kids, welcome to Kids Connect. We are so excited that you are able to join us today for Kids Connect. Petersham Kids is an amazing kids program filled with lots of fun and amazing God moments. I can't wait for you to see what we have planned for you today, so let's jump into it.
Hey guys, Jordan here. I'm so excited for Kids Connect today because I heard that you guys are learning about Bible heroes. I always wanted to be a superhero. Hey, can you guys remember who we've been learning about? He didn't have a cape like mine, but he did have a rod, just like this one. That's right, Moses. Well, we're going to learn a bit more about Moses today, and we're going to learn about what he was able to do with his rod. But before that, we got a cool craft to show you. So let's check it out.
Hi Petersham kids, I have a craft for you to try at home. I've already made one for you just to see what it will look like at the end, but as you can see, it looks like a stovetop and an oven. All you need is a box, some scissors, some glue, a ruler, and some papers, but you can fiddle with colours that you would like, or you could even have a look at your own oven at home and see what it looks like and change it up according to what your own oven looks like. But I'm going to show you how to make this one. So I have already previously cut out some holes for my stovetop, as you can see, and I've made the lid for the controllers. So now what I am going to do is I'm going to make my oven. So I need to cut this piece of paper in half and I'm just going to stick it on the top. So at home you might like to use a ruler and you can draw a line to make it nice and even, whatever you would like. So I'm just going to put some glue on that now. Okay, and let's stick it on the front. Just push that down so it sticks. And there we go, there's our oven. And I've also pre-cut our oven handle, which I'm just going to stick on top. But you too at home can use a ruler and a pencil just to cut it out. So I'll stick that one down. And we have our oven handle. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my marker, or you can use a pen or a pencil, and I'm going to draw the top of my oven just like on here. Okay, so as you can see, I've done the middle, and now I'm just going to do the controllers. So this is where we might adjust the temperature when we're doing some baking, or the settings for the oven. So there you go, there are my knobs. And now we're just going to do the controllers for the top for the stovetop. So again, I'm grabbing my paper and I'm just going to use the end of the glue stick just to trace around. And I'm going to do 4 of those, so we have 4 controllers for our stovetop. Okay, so there's my 4 knobs, and I'm just going to draw a little circle in the center. Just like that. And again, just using the glue, and we're going to stick those right up the top. This one looks kind of like an old stovetop, but you can make it your own. So there you go, there's your very own oven that you can make at home using a box. But with an oven, how do you get electricity? Where does it come from? Can you see the electricity? Let's have a look in this oven, right? Can you see the electricity coming through? How does that get power? When we use the oven at home, can we see how the electricity comes through? Or maybe when you turn a light on in your room, can you see how the light bulb turns on? And that's the same with God. We can't see him, but he is around us all the time. we can be still and know that He is with us, and we can trust Him with all our problems and lift them up to Him. So that brings me to the memory verse for today, which is, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations, and I will be exalted in the earth." Psalm 46 verse 10. So just like we will learn about Moses and the plague, he was able to set his people free through putting his faith and trust in God. And that's the same through this memory verse. We can be still and know that God is with us all the time, and we can put our faith and trust in Him that He will handle it.
Wow, what a cool craft. I can't wait to see how yours turns out. Well, right now, we got a cool Bible story to show you.
Exodus chapters 4 to 12. Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh to ask him to let God's people go so they could worship him in the wilderness. Pharaoh said no. He had a hard heart and would not let the people go. He wanted to keep the Israelites as his slaves. Pharaoh then told his taskmasters to make the Israelite slaves work even harder. The elders of Israel came to Moses and Aaron and began to complain how cruelly all the Israelites were being treated. They blamed Moses and Aaron for making their lives worse by telling Pharaoh that God had said he must let the slaves go. So Moses prayed to God and asked him why he had allowed Pharaoh to cause trouble for the Israelites and why he did not rescue them. God answered that he would deliver them from the Egyptians and bring them to a land he had promised to give them. In the promised land, they would be free. Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh again and asked him to let God's people, the Israelites, go. To show God's power, Aaron threw the rod he was holding to the ground and it became a snake. Pharaoh's magicians used their magic to make their rods become snakes too. But Aaron's snake swallowed up all the other snakes, showing that God is more powerful than anyone. However, Pharaoh still refused to let God's people go. Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh again. This time, Aaron struck the river Nile with his rod, and the water turned to blood, and all the drinking water in Egypt became blood red too. The magicians of Pharaoh used their magic to do the same thing. Pharaoh would not listen to God or let the Israelite slaves go. The water was turned to blood for 7 days, and then God caused another plague to come to Egypt. This time, he commanded Aaron to stretch out his rod over the rivers and the streams. Suddenly, frogs appeared and sprang out all over the land. They were everywhere, even in Pharaoh's palace. Pharaoh begged Moses and Aaron to stop the plagues of frogs, and they did. But Pharaoh would not listen to God and let his people go. So God told Aaron to stretch out his rod again over all the dust of the land, and it turned into lice. The lice appeared on all the Egyptians, including the magicians, who warned Pharaoh, "This is the work of God." But Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let the Israelite slaves go. So God sent Moses to warn Pharaoh that swarms of flies would pester him and all the people of Egypt. So God sent Moses to warn Pharaoh that swarms of flies would pester him and all the people of Egypt, but no flies would appear on the land of Goshen where the Israelites lived. Once again, Pharaoh begged for the flies to be taken away, and God took them away, but he still refused to free the Israelite slaves. So God sent another plague. All the animals of the Egyptians became ill and died, but the animals of the Israelites were kept safe. Even after this, Pharaoh still refused to obey God and let his people go. Next, God commanded Moses to take some ashes from a furnace and throw them in the air in front of Pharaoh. Horrible boils appeared on all the Egyptians, and all the magicians suffered so much from them that they could not stand before Moses. But still, Pharaoh refused to free the Israelite slaves. So next, God sent a plague of big hailstones to rain down on the places where the Egyptians lived, but not on Goshen where the Israelite slaves lived. The big hailstone destroyed the animals belonging to the Egyptians. But even after this terrible storm, Pharaoh still refused to let the slaves go. So God sent yet another plague on the Egyptians because of Pharaoh's disobedience. A swarm of locusts covered the whole land and ate all the fruit on the trees and herbs and everything green in the fields. But even after all the crops were eaten, Pharaoh shook his head and said no to releasing the slaves. So God told Moses to stretch out his hand, and deep darkness covered the land of Egypt for 3 days. But in the land of Goshen, where the Israelite slaves lived, they enjoyed the sunlight. Pharaoh knew that God was more powerful than anyone or anything, but still he refused to let God's people go. There had been 9 plagues so far. God sent 9 plagues on the land of Egypt, and then Moses and Aaron went to see Pharaoh for the one last time. Pharaoh's heart was still hardened, and he would not let the Israelites go. Moses had warned Pharaoh that at midnight, the final plague would kill the firstborn son in every Egyptian family, even among the animals, but the Israelites would be kept safe. Then God told the Israelites they must choose a lamb or a goat for each family and sacrifice that evening. They were then to sit and have a special meal that would become a special festival to be celebrated every year. Some of the blood of the animal had to be painted on the top and the sides of the doorposts in the house where they had lived. That night, the Israelites had to eat the sacrificed animal along with some bitter salad and greens and bread without yeast. They had to roast it over a fire, and any that was not eaten had to be destroyed. When the terrible plague passed over the land, those whose homes were covered by the blood were kept safe. At midnight, the terrible plague killed the firstborn son in every Egyptian family, including Pharaoh's son. Everyone was crying and felt very sad, including Pharaoh. In the middle of the night, Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron. "Go, take your people with you, along with your animals, but bless me as you go." Finally, they could leave. The Israelites had lived in Egypt for 430 years, but now it was finally time to go. Thousands of people all marched together with their families and animals out of the land. God had kept his promise to set them free. Wow, what an amazing Bible story. So I have 2 points for this week's episode. Point number 1, God is powerful. Can you remember how we talked about the plagues and how God did these amazing miracles and acts of power? Isn't it crazy that we get to serve and be friends with someone who is so powerful? Point number 2, faith is key. Just like in Shannon's crafts, do you remember how she was talking about how electricity is everywhere and we use it in so many different things, even if we don't see it? But we have faith that it's going to work, and we have faith that our light is going to turn on. Just like that, Moses had faith in God, and through that faith, he was able to see some amazing things. So I hope you learnt some great things in this episode. I know I did. Have a great week.
Thank you, Petersham Kids, for joining us today for Kids Connect. Now, parents, if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to our channel, Kids Connect. And if you want to see what the rest of the church is up to, please subscribe to Petersham Online. And don't forget to follow us on social media. Have a great day.